Welcome to another episode of Salesforce Connect. We're here with Jeffrey. How's it going, Jeffrey?
Really good. Really good. Happy to be here.
Yeah, likewise. No, it's great to see you again. We met at Dreamforce a few weeks ago. So how was Dreamforce for you? What are some of your impressions from the conference?
Yeah. It was kind of funny how we met, actually. We met in yoga class,
Yeah,
hot yoga class.
I love yoga.
Yeah. And man, I thought, it's the first day of this conference. Let's do some yoga, get ready for it. It was great. I was impressed with the size of the conference. Like, I don't think that's anything new, but we were walking to go into the main event, like and because of there wasn't enough room, we ended up having to go to an overflow area. Did you make it into the main event, or were you in an overflow
Yes,
area?
I barely made it. I was in line trying to get in when they were starting to say, okay, it's closed. No one else can come in, and kind of like squeeze in last minute, and I barely got in. But yeah, there were a lot of people. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was my first impression, just the amount of people and all the people coordination that they did. And, I came away with a lot of respect for how Salesforce is able to help its users understand its product. I came away from it really just stunned at how much attention and focus they put on Agentforce. And like using agents is a passion of our company. So that's pretty exciting. And I understand that the Agentforce in the past has been 170,000 people. And this one was like in the 20s. I cannot imagine what that would be like with 170,000 people.
Yeah, I wasn't there, but I think they had to bring like cruise ships to be docked in San Francisco because there was not enough hotel room capacity. So yeah, those were the wild west years of the Salesforce ecosystem for sure. So why don't we maybe take a step back? How do you got into the Salesforce ecosystem? Like what did you do before, and how do you transition into your
I've been
current?
working in professional services in the digital space for the last 18 years. Salesforce has always been a part of what we've done. My company now is Sellit, and so we help companies scale. And so we embed team members into other companies. It's a little bit of a staff augmentation model. And we have about 20 Salesforce engineers. So out
Got
of
it.
a company of 120, we have 20 Salesforce engineers. And so it's my job to find new opportunities for them. And so for me, I understand Salesforce and I've used it in the past, but I'm not as familiar with the ecosystem and everyone, all the different characters there at the table. And so it was an opportunity for me to really go and learn the lexicon, to learn some new opportunities, what's growing. Um, to I'm very personally excited about MCP servers, and so I was really enjoyed the conversations around those during the talk. And there's 1,500 events. There was a lot of different meetings and classes to learn from, and it was a great opportunity.
Love it. Love it. So what can you maybe give a little bit more of to the audience on Cello, like your differentiator? What's kind of your secret sauce? How do you guys differentiate from other partners in the ecosystem?
Sure. Yeah, we're a nearshore model. Our team is based primarily in Latin America. We have a few people in Europe and in Japan and the United States. Um, we provide the right people at the right time. We embed our team members in companies so that they feel like they're part of that group. And, we deliver results. So we have a 94% retention rate of our internal team. We treat our team fantastically. So they stay. And a lot of the companies where we work, like Royal Caribbean, for example, the external staffing organizations that provide them team members, they disappear sometimes. They leave, they get recruited, they're off the company. With our company, with Zealot, those team members are there all the time. And they won't get swapped out. And so we make a commitment for project success.
Love it. Now, I think nearshore is the way to go. I think in the past, the offshore model, India or the Philippines or low cost providers were really what drove volume in the industry. But I think over the years, with the time zone difference with India, cultural difference, even sometimes language barriers. I think more and more people are looking for nearshore. It's the same time zone as the US. People are really aligned culturally. I think people in Latin America aspire to the US. I think that model is growing more and more. So I love that you guys are doing nearshore. In terms of
Hey, can I make a comment on that? So in 2008, I started a company, Omnigon, and we work primarily with team members in Ukraine, opened an office there, acquired a company in Russia, opened an office there, also opened an office in Belarus. And because my two other founders had ties to the area, we were able to really develop a great working team and a working relationship. Insisted on hiring only great English speakers. And then with Slack or Skype, I think is what we were using at the time, we were really able to develop an efficient workforce. But the time difference was, even though it was just 6 hours difference, it was something that you'd really have to plan and schedule around. And they're having nearshore team members for me is fantastic because I would always feel guilty when someone would have to stay super late or like field a meeting really late in the day. And so having people near shore, it makes all the difference in the world. And many of the companies that we work with have had previous experiences working with teams in maybe in India or formerly in Russia. And that one of the things that they're wanting is have more direct communication with the engineers.
how do you approach ROI when you're going with your clients? What are the outcomes you expect from the delivery your team does for your clients? How do they measure ROI from your team members?
That's a great question. And, you know, at the beginning, when we're working on a sale, we're usually looking for a way to define those metrics. What would define success? A lot of times we're doing full digital transformations. So there is not a clear understanding of what the ROI of going from one site to the next will be. There's certainly the savings on OpEx, and then usually there's a commitment to having kind of a specific CapEx spend. And we work really close to making sure that where we quote a project, it will land at that price. There are some projects that we're working on now, for example, with MCP servers. So we work with a lot of companies in the travel space, online travel organizations, OTAs. And ChatGPT just announced ChatGPT apps, which allows you to browse for dates and rates and trips in ChatGPT, and it's a big window of opportunity. And so that's even a project that we've discussed with some of our clients is like, hey, we'll do this on spec and we'll design and develop this for you. And we can split the winnings from those conversions. So we're willing to invest alongside on winning opportunities.
I like that. I like that we share the risk, we share the upside, being a true partner. So if what you're delivering really drives value for them, why not share some of that upside? So I think it's a great approach. So in terms of keeping up with the ecosystem, I know you measure like MCP, there's a lot of new things coming up all the time. How do you keep up with the ecosystem, and where are you seeing the biggest opportunities in the partner ecosystem today?
In terms of Salesforce, I was really ramping up at that conference. My passion is primarily kind of in MCP and agents. And so, that conference is really focused on a lot of different agents and how they can be leveraged efficiently. There's a lot of ways to implement agents to reduce an internal spend for staffing on Salesforce. There's a lot of innovation that's happening, and it's even changing where non-technical engineers are able to create what you would previously need an engineer to do. And so a lot of our work is going to be changing with those agents to helping organizations get the best value out of an agent. So it's a little bit of a brand new world in certain respects, but there's still just a tremendous amount of just traditional Salesforce engineering that needs to happen.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I think it's slowly changing. Like we're not quite yet there yet. I think from Dreamforce, for example, the big announcement was Agentforce Vibes. So it's kind of having your own Claude Code or ChatGPT inside of Salesforce. So I think when a product like that it's really ramped and ready to be enterprise grade ready, I think it's gonna facilitate a lot of the development in Salesforce. But we're not quite there yet. But at least that's where the industry is moving for sure.
What did you think about the emphasis on Agentforce at Salesforce?
So I think to me this year the big theme of Dreamforce is making Agentforce or AI in the enterprise space as seamless and as easy to use as consumer goods, like in the consumer kind of space. I think people are used to like using Gemini, using like ChatGPT. You go, you ask questions, you have a great like UX, UI. It's seamless. People are very comfortable. When we look at the enterprise type of applications, they're not there yet. They're clunky. There's a lot of red tape. If you need to make a change, plug in production, you need to go through a lot of hoops, a lot of like quality assurance. You need more checks and balances than just asking a question to like an LLM. So I think Salesforce is trying to make that experience at the enterprise level as seamless as in the consumer level. But how can you get there? How can you make sure that when you use AI at the enterprise level, they don't have hallucinations and they don't have things that shouldn't be in production? So I think that's the challenge, but we're moving closer and closer. But to me, that's kind of the theme. I mean, we're still maybe like a year or more far from that happening, but we're moving in that direction.
Yeah, we haven't had really an engagement focus on Agentforce, so I agree with you. It there's probably quite a timeline before that becomes widely adopted. Would love to find a project that would start working in that area. But in sales, like a lot of positioning in this AI market is kind of around like the fear of missing out. And if you ask somebody, what percentage of Salesforce are you really taking advantage of? You have this huge license. Like, how much of that are you really taking advantage? I bet a lot of companies wouldn't know how to answer the question, but would probably assume that a lot of them would. There's some percentage that would say it's 10 to 20% of its capability. I mean, it takes a lot of time to be able to open up all the different functionality that you could add through Salesforce. In that way, Agentforce really opens up a great opportunity in the fear of missing out, where you can access and unify more areas of Salesforce using agents and using internal NCP servers, and really be able to have non-tech users become creative and define some new ways of doing things and some new solutions. I think that's going to be really important for expanding Salesforce and like growing in the digital space. The more non-engineer users that are able to engage, you end up shipping more code. That doesn't necessarily mean that things are simpler. You actually have a higher demand on engineering resources when lots of people are shipping code that can have varying degrees of functionality. So it's a really interesting time in the professional services space, because there's a fear that AI is going to come in and replace a lot of work. And I think a lot of that's justified. At the same time, we're seeing ways where the amount of work is increasing with AI.
Yeah. How are you guys internally keeping up with AI and efficiencies and things your team can utilize to do more with less? Are you seeing productivity gains? Like what are some of the things you do internally to ride kind of like ride some of those efficiencies that you're trying to also have your clients implement?
Yeah, it's we're working on what's the best metric to manage like effectiveness with AI. One idea is number of hours saved. I would have been working on this project for this many hours, but I was able to complete in this amount of time. Another metric we're talking about is like, number of tokens used. But you can just get a junior engineer just grinding on tokens and not really understand what the value of that is. So, hours saved seems to be one of the better areas. We have different captains. It's kind of like they own different sectors. And so one of our staff engineers who's very passionate, has his master's degree in AI. He leads that division. So for each engineer, everybody has like a budget to spend, between $100 and $200 on AI resources a month. And then he is working to highlight ways certain groups are using AI, so that we can share it, whether it's via in QA, in engineering, even design. And then we're showcasing different things that we're working on as a team. We're working on different POCs with the ChatGPT apps, and being able to expose what the possibility of that to the larger team is really interesting. We are guided because we're a professional services team. Not all companies want us to use AI.
Yeah.
So based on those agreements, there's some that say, hey, use it as much as you want. In those projects, we've been able to, AI is writing 60 to 75% of the code. In other projects, where it's not allowed, it's zero. So there's a great deal of variability based on the client.
Got it. Got it. And I know we're almost on time here, so maybe to wrap, what's maybe a lesson you learn as a leader in the Salesforce ecosystem, kind of scaling and building this remote first organization? Any lessons or insights or anything you want to share in closing?
For us, it's been, delivering professional services. It's a relationship. And so really it's great to meet people at a conference or meet them in the wild, but we feel like that's critical for, establishing a new relationship. And there's a lot of trust. And so I guess the best relationships you have are your best opportunity for success. And then introductions from those clients has been, our best recipe for success. We do work with a number of different SaaS solutions. So Salesforce is certainly one of them. And we haven't gotten a lot of recommendations from Salesforce for work.
Yeah.
But many other of the SaaS solutions, they're regularly bringing us in to meet with companies that are looking to do a migration. And so that is akin to being introduced by a good friend to a potential client. And so that's a very good model for us as well.
Love it. Now, Jeffrey, this been great. Love the insight. Love the conversation. How can people find you and get in touch with?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Jeffrey Galusha. I think it's, /Galusha on LinkedIn. And that's primarily where I'm at. I'm not so much on the other social medias. I might be, but I don't invest a bunch of time in that. Or just, my email, jeffreygalusha@sellit.com. Would love to talk with anyone if they're interested in some of the things that we covered or any future business.
Awesome. It's been great, Jeffrey. Thank you so much for sharing your time.
Thanks, Don. Good seeing you.
Bye.